Hi, welcome. In this video, I'm going to go over some tips for Program 5. So let's get started. The first thing I did is I took my Program 4 here. I'm going to test my Program 4 in a compiler to make sure that it's working as expected. So I'm going to log on here. I'll use the online compiler for this demonstration. And so I'm just going to open up my Program 4 code and paste it in here and run it. And whoops, so there's something not working. So because I didn't paste it over everything. All right, so now let's test it. All right, so how much money can I spend on a phone? $300. So now I can pick my phone from here. I will pick the Falcon phone. I do not have enough money, so have a great day. All right, so this looks like it's working as expected. So now let's get started and take a look at Program 5. So here I am with Program 5. Program 5 is going to add some additional features. I just want to remind you that when you're using scanf with a character, we're going to be using a characters in this. Be sure that you remember to put the space here between the quotation mark and %C because might have issues and it might not work as expected. I'm going to go ahead and download the template code and download the instructions. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the instructions, make sure I understand what I'm doing. Now, the reason that I tested my Program 4 is because if you take a look down here at the function prototypes, you will see that the get budget function, the display phones function, the set price function, and the display balance function are all the same as Program 4. We're going to add a feature to our checkout function. We're going to add an additional function, display and get choice, and we're going to modify the greeting function so that it adds the features that are for this program. All right, so hopefully before you start this video, you've read the assignment instructions and you have a little bit of an understanding what's going on. Whenever I get started on an assignment or I start recording these videos, and I think it's a good idea to go down and take a look at the sample output. So let's take a look at the sample output. So you're going to have a greeting. Now we're going to add some features here. You're going to add this menu option feature here so that we don't just say the budget, pick a phone, and then quit if they don't have enough, or and not purchase anything, or purchase and then still quit. So we're going to add a loop that allows us to do some different features. So the first, we're going to get the balance of the budget right away in the beginning, just like we did before. After you get the budget, you're going to ask the user to enter an S if they want to select a phone, a U if they would like to update or change their budget, a C to check out, or a Q to quit. So we're going to use this loop, and you're going to be able to continue to update your budget by more than one phone until the user enters Q to quit. So when we start out, we get the budget, then the user selects S. When the user selects S, this is you're not required that you print this, but I'm printing it just because I want to follow along what's going on. The budget they entered was $300. The price of the phone is $0 because the user has not selected a phone yet. All right, so now we hit S to select a phone. The user selects their phone. We can enforce that if they need to hit a number 1 through 8. If they don't hit a number 1 through 8, then the price could be set at 0. But in Program 4, hopefully you will add the feature of the do while loop that's going to enforce that the user enters a 1 through 8. And I will show you that also it's in my Program 4. So we're going to be doing the same thing on select a phone. Here in my Program 4, you will see that I do not have the do while loop, so I can add the do while loop when we start working on this code. All right, so they select their number 8 and then they picked their phone. So once they pick their phone, then they need to select C to check out. So then they check out. If there's enough money, they will check out, and then you will have a balance left in their budget. And then they can select another phone. So you can continue to do this until the user enters queue to quit. So now they select another phone. They hit S, but they haven't selected another phone yet. So now they're going to select the phone number 3. So now we change this that the budget is $255 and the phone is not enough. So when they try to check out, it's going to tell them that the price, they cannot buy that phone. They have the option to select a different phone, to update their budget, to check out, or to quit. So if they pick to update their budget, they can add more money to their budget. If they pick to select another phone, they could select a different phone. If they pick checkout, obviously they couldn't check out because they didn't have enough money. But now that they have enough money, they can check out. When they select you to update their budget, you're not going to add money to the budget. You're going to just change what the budget was to a new budget. So this is not really practical, but it's just an exercise to practice functions and conditions and a couple of loops. All right, so let's get started and let's get the template code and put it into the compiler. So I've downloaded here the template code and I'm going to put this into the compiler and get started. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is build this and make sure that there's nothing that's not working. So as soon as I do that, I can identify that it's compiling. I don't have any weird things in here. So you need to put your name, date, and a brief description, and let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is the greeting function. Now, my recommendation is that you take your greeting function from your program 4 and modify it to add the extra features. I'm not going to have you sit here and watch me do that. So I'm just going to take my greeting function from program 4 and use it as it was. But there are extra features and you will need to update and add the extra features. Oh, it says food purchasing app. That's funny. Huh. I'm not going to do that because I don't really want you to watch me type. But I will check it to make sure that it's working as expected. And I go up here and I'm going to greet the user. All right, so now I'm going to run it and make sure that it greets the user. It works. Okay, great. So now I know that my greeting function is working. The next function I want to do is I want to do the get budget function. So I did try to help you guys out here by putting the functions in order and letting you know which ones are the same as program 4. So one thing that I want to point out is that you should declare all your variables at the beginning of the main function. So let's think about what variables we're going to need for this program. We're going to need a budget, which is also the balance. We're going to need the price. We're going to need an int for the item number. We're going to need a character for the choice, the S, U, etc. We're not going to do the choice yet. We're going to do the budget first because we're going to follow along in order. So the first thing we're going to do is the greeting, and then we're going to do the budget. This is exactly the same as program 4. So the nice thing is I already did this. So I can just take my get budget function here, copy and paste it here into my code. And now I can take the function call right from my program 4. And so now I've made some changes and I'm going to get the budget and display the budget. And now I want to make sure that this works as expected. So I'm going to run it and see what happened. So here I have an issue and I could see what the issue is. I here am spelling my function wrong. So if I spell the spelling of my function call, my function, whoops, and I don't have my, oh, I do. My function prototype and my function definition all must be spelled the same. So I have a spelling error there. Let's try again. All right, I will enter my budget, $500. And that's great news, $500. So I feel very confident that my get budget function is working as expected. All right, now it's time to do something new. What we want to do here is we want to do the loop. So in order to do the loop, we need to have initialization, test, and update. So we need to get a value for this variable choice. In order to get a value for the variable choice, we're going to implement a function called display and get the choice. So this is a new function. This is a function that is only in, was not in program 4. So I'm going to take this, put my definition down here. And now I'm going to read the instructions on what this function does. So in this function, I'm going to declare a character. So I'm going to declare a character. I can call it choice. I'm just calling it a different name just to clarify that this variable option is a local variable to the display and get choice function. When I call it from the main function, I'm using a character called choice. All right, so then here I'm going to give the choices. U, S, here are the choices. Now, I don't want your prompt to look like this. I'm just don't like to have you watch me type. Your prompt should be enter S for select your phone, similar to the sample output. So I'll go back here to the sample output. Where was that document here? Maybe I closed it. All right. So the sample output, you will see that when we say we tell the user what to enter, keep in mind that a uppercase S and a lowercase s are not the same, an uppercase U and a lowercase u are not the same. So you need to pay attention to that and keep that in mind. And you can either use functions to upper or to lower from the ctype.h, or I'm going to show you how to deal with upper and lowercase letters. All right, so here I am. I'm going to get that. I'm going to scan in that option. This is where you need to make sure you put the space %C into the address of option. And then I'm going to return the option that was entered. All right, so I'm going to display these options, get the options. Now, what I need to do is I need to test to make sure that my function works as expected. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to call this function. This is the function call. It's going to get called. The option's going to get declared. It's going to scan in the option, return the option. Then that option is going to get assigned to choice. To make sure that this is working as expected, I want to print it onto the screen and just say you chose %C. You don't have to do this, but you don't have to leave it there, but you want to make sure that the function works, because if the function is not working as expected, it's going to kind of make everything else in the program not work the way that that you think it should. So let's test it. All right, how much can I spend on my phone? $600. And now enter my choice. I enter an S. You chose S. So I know that my display and get choice function is working as expected. I'm calling my display choice function. I'm jumping out here, asking for the choice, getting the choice, and then assigning it here. Keep in mind that the variable in main was called choice. I just used a different variable name in the function to reiterate the fact that that's the local variable for that function. So now I'm going to get the loop going, and then I gave you the information how to do this. And so let's go over how this loop works. So what this loop is going to do is you're going to get the choice. We don't really need to print that anymore. You're going to get the choice. If the user enters a queue, you're not going to go into this loop because this is a logical AND, which means that if I entered, this must be true. So the choice cannot be a lowercase q, and the choice cannot be an uppercase q. So any other letter other than q is going to go into this loop body. So actually, just to test it and make sure that it works, I'm going to keep printing the choice. All right, so let's test it and make sure that it works. We're going to get the budget at the beginning, enter your choice, W, you chose W, Q, quit. Let's try it again with some other choices. S, C, U, S, quit. Okay, so my loop is working. It quits when I hit Q. So the next step is to make all of these conditions. So how we're going to do that is if the choice is S, then we're going to select the phone, display the phones, and get the price. That's what happens when you select a phone. You select a phone, you display this is choices, just choice S just means you're selecting the phone. You display the phones and you set the price. These have already, I always spell function wrong. These are functions from program 4 that you've already done. You display the phones and you return the integer. The integer is declared up here. Then you pass that integer to the set price function. And so that is what's going to happen if the choice is S. The next choice, we're going to use an else if here. All right, so the next choice we're going to work on is if the choice is C. If the choice is C, what are you going to do? Well, you're not going to display the phones. You're going to try to check out. If you notice right here, I'm not implementing the checkout. I'm not implementing the display phones. I'm implementing the loop to make sure that that works first. All right, so we're just printing here, try to check out. And so this is where we're going to see if we can check out. I didn't implement that function yet. I'm just printing a message here to make sure that when I choose the letter C, this message is the one that gets printed. My next one, what is another option we have, is U. So if the user selects a U, what are we going to do based on the fact that the user selects a U? We're going to update the budget. So what other options do we have? We have try to check out, which I just did. Update the budget, which I just did. Okay, and to update the budget, we're going to call the get budget function. To try to check out, we're going to call the try to check out function. These are just notes to me. And then I think those are all of the options. So the next step is to deal with any letter that is not recognized. So this last else here is just going to print a message that it's not recognized if the user tries to enter any choice other than Q, S, C, or U. Am I missing one? S, C, U, or Q? No, that's it. All right, so now I've made some changes. It's time to test it. All right, I can spend $300 on my phone. S. You chose S. This is where you're going. We haven't done it yet. We're just doing the loop right here. Pick up C. You chose C. Try to check out. U. You chose U. Update the budget. F. Not recognized. V. Not recognized. S. Q. So now I feel confident that my loop is working as expected. So the next step is to implement all of the features. These features are going to be very easy to implement because these are the features that I've already used on my program 4. So I'm just going to be copying and pasting these from my program 4. This is going to be a little different. And this one I've already used. This is the get the budget function. So the only one that's going to be different is this one, which we've already done. And our try to check out function is going to be different because it's going to return a double. All right, so we can't really try, we don't want to try to check out because we have to select a phone and everything first. So the first thing I want to do is do my display phones. You will notice that these functions right here are the same as program 4. So all I have to do is go to my program 4 and get my display phones function. I'm going to put it down here. Now my display phones function, I did not put the do while loop, so I'm going to add the do while loop because I want to make sure that I enforce that they give me a number 1 through 8. So to do that, I put the keyword do here. Then I'm going to indent. I'm going to put all of this inside of my do while loop because each time that they don't give me the right number, I'm going to remind them of the choices. So I don't want to just put the enter the selection part in the do while because if they enter a whole bunch of numbers, then the choices are not going to be there anymore. So I'm going to do it like this so that each time I remind them. And then my condition is going to say while item is less than 1 or item is greater than 8. So what this is going to do is it's going to present all of this information, get the number. If the number is less than 1 or less than 8, it's going to present it again until it's not going to get past this condition right here until the user enters a number that is between 1 and 8. So how do I test this? I'm going to call the function. So this is the function. And that's the first thing I'm going to do here is make a function call to this. And the name of it is item number. And how do I make sure that it works as expected? I just simply add a printf here, just like I did when I was building program 4. Printf, the item number is %d. Item number. So here, if the user chooses S, I'm going to get the item number and then I have to set the price based on the item number. However, I don't want to do that yet. I want to do one thing at a time and make sure that it works before I move on to the next thing. All right, so I select S. So now I have my options. I select 10. Nope, I select -5. Okay, now I select 7. The item number that was selected is 7. So now I can try to check out. Nothing's going to happen because I haven't set the price yet. So it's a procedure. We have to do one thing at a time. The next step is to get out of program 4, my set the price function. So I take my set the price function definition here and I add that. All right, so now I need to call my set the price function the same way I did before. I set the price, I pass it the item number. It's going to go through based on the item number, set the price, and then assign it to my variable here called price. And now what do I want to do? I want to print it to make sure it works as expected. All right, so now let's run it. Okay, I have something I did wrong here on line 78. Oh, I forgot to put the F. All right, so I select my phone. I select number 6. I selected number 6 and the price is $145.47. So now I feel confident that that's working. Updating the budget. All that means when I update the budget is to call the get budget function. So here I call the get budget function. I'm going to print that back to see if that's working. And I'm going to leave you guys to figure out how to implement the try to check out function. So this is the last part that I'm going to do in the video. Certainly you can get help. I recommend that you do one thing at a time. Put printfs the way that I'm doing. Follow what's happening. Don't try to do everything at once. And make sure that you check, you check and make sure things are working as you go. Pay attention to what's going on. That's the point of the assignments, is to practice and understand what's happening. And so let's make sure that this works. All right, so now I'm going to select my phone. I select number 1, which is $999. There should be better printfs in my main because I selected that phone and now I forgot what my budget was. So I should be printing out somewhere else what my budget is. You can print it anywhere you want. So I could update my budget. You need to add some better printfs. If I update my budget, I can change it to $2,000, $20,000. So updating my budget is working. The place that I was printing out the budget and the price of the phone, I was printing it out here in the while loop. You can print it somewhere in there, right here. Print the budget and the price. Oh, oops. So I recommend you add printfs, and I'm going to leave the slightly changed try to check out function for you. You take the budget, you take the price, but because you're allowed to make more purchases, you're going to return the updated budget. Take a look at quiz 2. It's very similar to the function that was in quiz 2.